Hello viewers, my name is Mrs. Regina Wizzy-Beke, your regular host in this channel. In our previous episode, we had looked at lots of messages, very interesting messages, inspiring and interesting. Today, we are in episode 3, part 4. And our very simple topic is emotional unity or oneness. In part 3 of episode 3, we had looked at how the requirements for a blissful marriage. And we said the first requirement was that a husband must mandatorily leave the operational state of love by laying down his life or sacrificing or adjusting, stoop to the expressional state of love where his wife is, and then speak in a language that she can understand. So she'll be able to be a suitable helpmate for him. Today, the second requirement is emotional oneness. Now, emotional oneness or emotional unity in every marriage is like the central nervous system of that marriage. Once anything goes wrong in the central nervous system, so much damage will be done to the physical body. It's the same thing with marriage. When there is a breach in emotional unity, it must surely reflect in the attitude or in the behavior of the partners in that marriage. So for us to obtain a marital bliss, we must look very deeply into what emotional unity or oneness in marriage can do. So, first of all, emotions. This is a strong feeling of either sadness or joy. Let me simply put it that way. That our emotions are strong feelings of joy or sadness. So emotional unity, now we are looking at how both husband and wife will be operating in the same realm of either joy or sadness. That's what we are looking at, emotional unity, where they will be speaking the same language. When the husband is happy, the woman is happy. When the husband is sad, the woman is sad. That's what we are looking at today, emotional unity. But we are going to majorly look at happiness because we are talking about marital bliss. Marital bliss. So, for us, for any marriage to experience marital bliss, the partners in that marriage must be emotionally united. How can they become emotionally united? Now, emotional unity comes with communication, strong dialogue. Strong dialogue. You cannot be emotionally connected to someone when you don't communicate with that person, when you're not dialoguing. Like I had said in part 3, that the husbandman must be ready to adjust. He must leave that territory, that zone of service and worship, and come down. And in coming down to the level of the weaker vessel, his wife, he must be ready to dialogue with her. If you look around the world today, you see lots of marriages breaking up. It's not because they are going through challenges that others are not going through. No, it is because there's a lack of emotional unity or oneness, lack of communication, lack of dialogue. Now, this dialogue I'm talking about is a dialogue that can bring you to a consensus, to an agreement. Not just, oh, we've talked about it and this partner goes this way, this one goes this way. No. Dialoguing to a level where the two of you can agree on a particular goal that can enhance beauty in your home. If we go to Genesis chapter 3 verse 15, we will see there that when this communication, there was a communication breach, we notice that in that Genesis chapter 3 verse 15, God had to come and put enmity between the woman and the serpent. That was where the communication flow was going towards. The woman established communication with the serpent, or the serpent established good communication with the woman, and that was what resulted to the eating of the forbidden fruit. There was a good communication network between the woman and the serpent. So it took God to crush that network. That we can learn a lesson from there, that communication is very important. For us to succeed or fail, there must be strong communication. No marriage can work or stand or can be blissful without good communication network. It's not possible. Now, this good communication or dialogue will avail both partners the opportunity to discuss their differences. It will avail them the opportunity to talk about their do's and don'ts, to talk about the things that are going right and the things that are going wrong, their strengths and their weaknesses. And then they will be able to build to produce a blissful marriage. I have listened to lots of women complain that when they discuss their aches with their husbands get either angry or get aggressive or even get violent with them. You know, for instance, a wife tells her husband, honey, on my way back from so place, I met a guy that asked me out. Man, that's a green indicator that your wife confides in you. That's a green indicator that your wife respects you. Now you have to show your maturity as a husband. You have to show your maturity as a husband to school your wife. Listen to her. If there is no friendship, no wife can tell her husband that. Now, in a situation where your wife cannot communicate with you like that, if something is wrong, she can't tell you. She prefers to discuss with her friends. There's a problem in that marriage. There's a problem with that husband man. I remember those days. It's still happening till now. When men ask me out, I always give them my husband's phone number. Yes, it's a spice in the marriage, you know. I always give them my husband's phone number and they will call. There's a name I have that my husband knows. So I will give them that name and then give them my husband's phone number and they will call. It's still happening. Until one day, I gave one man my number and the man called. My husband picked. I gave one man my husband's number rather, and the man called and my husband picked, and he was like, will you give that phone to the owner? Why will you carry her phone? What are you doing with her phone? And my husband smiled and said, my wife is at it again. She has given someone my number. The person is calling. So he called me and said, darling, where are you? I started laughing. He said, someone just called me and the person was backing. I said, yes. The guy met me and said he likes me. Even when I told him that I was married, he wouldn't listen to me. He asked me for my number. So, as usual, I gave your number. How many husbands would take that? And both of us started laughing. You know, for marriage to be blissful, husbands, you must be ready to have a good communication network with your wives. Let your wife be able to run up to you and tell you, look, honey, this is what I am experiencing. Honey, this is what is going through in my mind. Like sometimes when a thought drops in my mind, I always run to my husband. I share it with him. I go to him and say, my Lord, this is what just dropped in my mind. And he will sit me down and school me. Say, you see, this thought is not of God. I say, yes, that's why I need your help. And it will be of help to me. Husbands, how many of you are open enough for your wives to run up to you and say, honey, this is what I am experiencing? Let me shock you. In my 18 years of marriage to my husband, there was a time, there was this guy, my husband's friend, though, he kept coming to visit me when my husband traveled. A very strong child of God. And he was a virgin. A male virgin. So he kept coming to stay around me when my husband traveled. And each time he comes, he will tell me things like, I'm very beautiful, that my husband is blessed to have me as his wife. He couldn't wait to marry his own wife and all that. And, you know, as I kept hearing these praises, I just started liking him, you know. And one day, I picked up my dress to wear. And I just looked at it and I wondered, will he say this dress is fine on me? That was what came to my mind. And as soon as that dropped in my mind, I said, no, it's only my husband that deserves that office. It's only my husband that I can wear something and say, will he like it? Not any other person. And I picked up my phone. I called my husband. I called him. When I called him, I said, this is what just happened in my heart. This is what just happened. And trust my husband. I always say he's the best husband in the world because the things he teaches me, they are amazing. A lot of men will not take them, but he does. So my husband now, he started counseling me. And when he finished counseling me, I never allowed his friend to come to visit me anymore. Whenever he comes, I'll shut the door and tell him I was busy. And that was the end. He never came to visit me again. And it was not long. My husband took me over to stay with him. That was how we settled that issue. Now the point is this: how many husbands can wives tell them, honey, I'm beginning to like this person, and they will take it? Emotional oneness, emotional unity, where your wife can open up to you and tell you what is eating her up. Most times wives don't have this opportunity, and they discuss with their friends and trust some friends. They want to see that woman fall, and they'll begin to tell her, if he likes you, why don't you like him back? Why don't you like him? After all, he's a cute guy. And a woman that is weak at heart will go and make mistakes, not because she planned to make any mistake, but because her husband wasn't there for her emotionally. So that's what we are talking about today. Emotional unity, where a husband will understand that this woman is a weaker vessel and be open to teach her, be open to be there for her. She will be able to express whatever aches her before that husband. How many husbands are ready? We are talking about marital bliss. We are talking about marital bliss here. If you want your home to be blissful, you must be prepared. You must be ready. It's not about providing food. It's not about paying kids' school fee. It's not about building a house or paying rents. It's not just about that. Marriage is far beyond that. You need to have a listening ear for your wife. There are a lot of things your wife will want to discuss with you. Are you available? Are you there for her? Are you ready to listen? Sometimes she will even want to talk about sexual activities. You don't want to listen. You don't want to listen. Who then should she discuss with? When you don't listen, you give her the chance to discuss these crucial matters with friends that might never help her. You want marital bliss, then be prepared to be a matured husband. This maturity has nothing to do with the age of the man. It has nothing to do with the age of the man. It has everything to do with the disposition, how prepared and ready the husbandman is.